when my mom and dad started out, they had nothing. Okay, my grandma had the farm, but they didn't have anything. So there was a farm down the hill from where grandma lived that this lady owned, and my mom and dad farmed it on shares. What means that the owner of the property gets a share of the land. They didn't have like electric heat like we do today, so they had to burn wood. So there was a lot of woods. Okay, so wood was free. Summers are really hot, humid, sticky. Winters are really cold. You have to get up early. You have to feed the cattle, water the cattle, milk the cattle, let them out to graze if it's not too cold. And then we had to go to school, And then at nighttime, milk the cattle. We put down straw bedding so they can sleep on it. And then you had to feed them hay. Sometimes we'd give them molasses on top of it because they like it and it makes it sweet and helps with milk. Think of a big milk can, right? There's a big bowl like metal strainer, which you would put these kind of like felt that you'd strain the milk and put it in cans. And then you'd have to lift these heavy cans. We also had a natural spring where before we got the cooler, we could put it in the spring. In the summer, we'd have this huge garden because there's 6 kids, right? And 2 adults, so a huge garden. Anybody who worked on the farm was looked down upon by people who were in town. Having a car was a big deal, because you're out in the country. There's nothing to do except work. I have a cousin, Janice, and Janice lived in Madison, Wisconsin, and she wanted us to come out and visit her on a weekend, like a weekend trip. So we took the train, and that's that picture you see where Barb and I are sitting in these striped dresses that she made us. The one thing that struck me, because it was a little bit scary, because there's no adults, it's just my sister and me. There was a porter, the nicest man, but he was the first black man I'd ever met. And he was so nice, probably the best way for me to meet a black person and realize he's not any different than me. Well, I worked at a neurological plant. They make fryers and electric coffee makers and stuff like that. And then we were all laid off, and I applied for IBM. When I first started, it was third shift. So having 2 boys and having a babysitter, it's just really hard. I was going to make a lot of money. It was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. So I loaded us all up packed the car, packed the mobile home, everything, and then we flew down. It was huge. I was it's the money. We moved into Louisville, and then I was commuting back and forth to Irving every day. They were upset.
No, that I ain't one that will stew about somebody doing this or somebody doing that, because it's their life.
When Deb and her kids left for Texas, that was a pretty hard time for me. Well, and I know everybody missed Deb and the kids.
But What softened the blow was my dad's cousin, Gail, and his wife, Imogene, lived in Garland. So my home came, my car came, you know, so we had a lot of familiarity. I could take vacation and go up there and go back, and so it was a good job. It wasn't too long we got a dog, Chelsea.
Chelsea getting our Chow Chow, the sweetest dog,
which helped, but it was difficult. How can you keep your kids out of trouble? And the influences around when you work so much, it's difficult.
And then when I was in the early teens, she wasn't at IBM anymore because they did a mass layoff. And then she ended up having to start over again and be a cafeteria lady.
I had 3 jobs. I called the Kidney Foundation. I worked for high school cafeteria.
I got the super duper work mom.
And there are 2 weeks of my life I do not remember how I made it, because it was 14 years with IBM. I planned to retire with them. When I wasn't working there, they were angry at me.
I got all Chris's hand-me-downs, and then I would get made fun of for that.
Why can't I have this? Why can't I,
Grandma would always say, oh, you'll grow into them.
Anything to get by. I had a severance package, but it wasn't going to last very long. And I was freaking out.
Be a little cumbersome for me because it would come down from her to Chris to me.
I don't think it was not caring. I think it was just, I have to pay these bills. This stuff has to get paid, or we're going to be homeless.
I figured I got to put my foot down and make a difference. And things got to be different because I had the eldest grandchild. So I figured it needs to be right, You could tell by my dad that he did love us, but he didn't say it. But his mom never said it.
Is our family, you got off the phone with somebody up north, if you said, I love you, they said, uh-huh.
So when Chris was born, and I told them, I expect that we tell each other, I love you. Being the oldest, I figured I got to put my foot down and make a difference.
Being understanding and compassionate and still loving and still a mother, that I could come back.
We knew that to stop the cycle of things, that we needed to be open and we needed to talk.
It had to be different for my family. So you never have to worry. No matter if you do bad, you're still loved.